Picture this for a second. It's Friday evening, around 5:30 p.m. You've just closed your laptop after another full work week. Not a dramatic one, not a terrible one, just heavy. Your body is in your car or on the train, but your mind feels like it's been scraped raw. Cooking sounds exhausting. Thinking sounds exhausting. Even deciding feels like work. So you do what millions of Americans do without a second thought. You open a delivery app. Thai food, pizza, burgers, it doesn't matter. $45 after tax and tip. Then you get home, pour a drink, collapse onto the couch, and let a show you barely care about play in the background just to quiet your brain. And somewhere in there you tell yourself, I earned this. I worked hard all week. Now listen to me carefully. I'm not judging you. I'm not saying you're irresponsible. I'm saying this because I've lived long enough to recognize a pattern. This moment feels harmless, but it's the doorway to a much bigger financial problem most people never see. Not because they're bad with money, but because no one ever taught them what this moment is actually costing them. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Here's the part where most people nod along and never stop to question it. You know your salary. You know the number by heart. $65,000 a year. 75. Maybe six figures if things went well. And somewhere along the way, that number became proof that you're doing okay. Proof that the stress is justified. Proof that the long hours make sense. Because as long as the salary sounds respectable, the rest doesn't get examined. I've watched generations fall for this. We're taught, from the moment we step out of school, that our value fits neatly into an annual number. Break it down, and it sounds even better. $30 an hour, $40 an hour, that feels solid. That feels safe. That feels like progress. But here's the quiet problem. In the real world, revenue without expenses is a fantasy. Every business owner knows this. Yet when it comes to our own labor, we ignore the same rule. You're looking at the money coming in and calling it success, but you haven't looked at what it costs you to earn it. And once you do, that comfortable number starts to feel a lot less comforting. I'm going to use a strong phrase here, and I want you to hear it the right way. What's happening in your life isn't a failure. It's an accounting fraud, not one committed by your employer, not by the government, but one you've been unknowingly committing against yourself every time you agree to judge a job by gross salary alone. Any real business knows better. If a bakery sells $1 million worth of bread but spends $1 million on rent, labor, and ingredients, that business isn't successful. It's worthless. Yet when it comes to our own lives, we do exactly that. We look at revenue and ignore costs, and the product being sold isn't bread. It's you, your time, your energy, your attention, your nervous system. The cost of selling yourself into a job is enormous, but it's hidden. It's scattered across your days in small, easy-to-ignore pieces. And because no one ever taught you to add them up, you assume they don't matter. They do. They matter more than the salary number ever will. Let's start with the part everyone knows, but almost no one truly feels. Before a single dollar reaches your checking account, it's already been sliced apart. Federal taxes, state taxes, FICA, Medicare, Social Security, that hourly rate you like to quote yourself? It shrinks the moment it becomes real. That $30 an hour quietly turns into $24, sometimes less. And because this happens automatically, you mentally skip over it. You treat it like background noise. This is the easy math. No drama here. No outrage. Everyone shrugs and moves on. But here's why it matters. This is the baseline you're actually starting from. Not the salary you brag about, and not the number HR sold you. Every other cost we're about to talk about stacks on top of this reduced figure. Not the original one, the smaller one. And that distinction is everything. Because when people say, I make good money, they're usually talking about a number that never fully belonged to them in the first place. You can't build a stable financial life on money you never touch. And we haven't even reached the painful part yet. Now, we move into the money you spend for one simple privilege, being employed. These are not lifestyle upgrades. These are not indulgences. These are costs that exist only because the job exists. The commute alone quietly drains thousands of dollars a year. Gas, insurance, maintenance. Wear and tear on a car you might not even need if you weren't required to show up somewhere at a specific time. If you take public transportation, it's the monthly pass. Different system, same result. Then there's appearance. You can't roll out of bed and walk into most offices as you are. You need clothes that fit the role, shoes that signal competence, haircuts, dry cleaning. None of this makes your life better. It just keeps you employable. And then comes convenience spending, the sneakiest tax of all, the coffee because you're tired, the lunch you buy because you didn't have time to prepare food, the services you pay for because you're not home, dog walkers, meal kits, ride shares. These purchases feel small, even necessary, but they add up fast. You're not spending money because you want to. You're spending money because the job leaves you no room not to. And we're still not at the most dangerous cost. This is the part almost no one wants to look at, because it feels personal. This is the money you spend not to enjoy life, but to survive it. I call it decompression spending. It's the Friday night bar tab because you need a release. The impulse vacation booked on a bad day because you can't do this anymore. The late night online shopping, the subscriptions, the comfort purchases that show up quietly on your statement. Not because you're greedy, because you're exhausted. And listen closely, this isn't a character flaw. It's a predictable response to chronic stress. When work drains your energy, your body looks for relief. When your mind is overloaded, it reaches for numbness. I've seen this cycle repeat for decades. People think they're bad with money, when in reality, they're paying medical bills for a job that doesn't come with a hospital receipt. Therapy, alcohol, entertainment, retail therapy, these aren't luxuries. They're repair costs. What makes this so dangerous is that it never shows up as work expense. It looks like personal failure instead. But if the job didn't tax your nervous system the way it does, much of this spending wouldn't exist. You are spending money to heal damage you were never told to account for. And if this were only about money, it would already be bad enough. But it isn't. Here's where the equation finally breaks. Because wage is never just about money. Wage is money divided by time. And just like we overestimate how much we make, we dramatically underestimate how much time the job actually takes from us. HR tells you that you work 40 hours a week. That number is clean. It's convenient. And it's a lie. Your workday doesn't start when you clock in. It starts when your alarm goes off. The shower, the shaving, the makeup, the mental switch that pulls you out of your life and into your role. That's time. The commute isn't free time either. Sitting in traffic isn't leisure. It's unpaid labor. Lunch may be off the clock, but you can't go home. You can't rest. You're still owned by the schedule. And when the day ends, the job doesn't actually let go. The drive home, the mental fog, the conversations where you replay meetings, emails, and mistakes, the checking of messages just in case. That's not recovery. That's shadow work. Time that belongs to the job, but the job refuses to pay for. When you add it up, honestly, you're not working 40 hours. You're organizing your entire life around employment. And now we finally have the full picture. Now we do the math most people avoid because once you see it, you can't unsee it. We take what's left after taxes, then we subtract the costs of commuting, clothes, convenience, and decompression. What remains is not your salary, it's your real income. And then we divide that number by the real hours the job takes from your life. Not 40 a week, the early mornings, the commuting, the mental spillover, the recovery time, all of it. When you run those numbers honestly, that respectable $30 an hour starts to evaporate. Suddenly it's 12, sometimes 10. In high-stress, high-cost cities, it can sink even lower. I've watched grown professionals sit quietly when they realize they're making less per hour than a teenager flipping burgers because that teenager walks to work, wears a uniform, clocks out, and leaves the stress at the grill. This isn't an insult. It's a revelation. You've been sold the idea of success while operating a low-margin business called your life. And the most dangerous part? You were told to feel proud of it. Once you understand your real hourly wage, something subtle but powerful happens. Your brain rewires. You stop seeing prices as numbers and start seeing them as pieces of your life. That $100 pair of shoes doesn't just cost $100 anymore. It costs 10 hours of your time, 10 hours of commuting, 10 hours of meetings you didn't care about, 10 hours of being too tired to think clearly. This is the moment consumerism starts to lose its grip. Because when you translate money into life, most purchases stop making sense. The impulse fades, the urgency disappears. You're no longer asking, "Can I afford this?" You're asking, "Is this worth the hours I traded to earn it?" And for the first time, the answer is often no. This is also where the golden handcuffs reveal themselves. Promotions that look generous on paper often come with higher costs, longer hours, more stress, and more spending to cope with that stress. I've seen people earn more money and become poorer at the same time. More cash flowing through their hands, less life staying with them. And if you think this only affects today, you're missing the most expensive part of all. Here's the part that makes people sit back and go quiet. Because this isn't about today. This is about what today quietly takes from your future. That $5 coffee you buy every morning because you're too tired to make it at home doesn't feel dangerous. It feels earned. It feels small. But over 30 years, invested at a modest 7%, that habit alone can cost you close to $200,000. You're not just drinking coffee. You're drinking your retirement. And it's never just coffee. It's the takeout because you're exhausted, the rideshare because you're running late, the subscription you forgot to cancel because your brain is overloaded. These are not moral failures. They are symptoms of a system that relies on you being too tired to calculate the long-term cost. The system doesn't need you to be broke. It just needs you to be distracted. When money leaks out in small, invisible ways, compound interest never gets a chance to work for you. It works against you instead. You're financing your own trap, one convenience at a time. And that's exactly why the cycle is so hard to break until you see it clearly. So, what's the solution? No, I'm not going to tell you to quit your job tomorrow, sell everything, and disappear into the woods. That fantasy feels good for about 10 seconds and solves nothing. The real way out is quieter, smarter, and far more powerful. You stop chasing higher income and start optimizing efficiency. Your real hourly wage becomes the metric that matters. Ask different questions. Can you work from home 2 days a week? That's hours of commuting erased and real money back in your pocket. That's a raise without asking for one. Can you meal prep on Sunday so weekday decisions stop draining you? Can you live closer to work or stop paying for status you don't actually care about? Every dollar you remove from the cost of working is a dollar of pure freedom. This isn't about deprivation. It's about leverage. You're not trying to earn more life by grinding harder. You're trying to stop selling so much of it so cheaply. And once you see your job through this lens, your decisions get sharper, calmer, more intentional. But the biggest shift isn't logistical. It's psychological. A smart business owner doesn't obsess over revenue alone. They obsess over margins. Your life is no different. If you make $100,000 a year but spend $95,000 and give up 80 hours a week to earn it, that business is failing. It just hasn't collapsed yet. I've seen plenty of those. They look successful right up until they aren't. Now, compare that to someone earning $50,000, spending $20,000, and working 30 hours a week. That person has margin. They have flexibility, they have time, they're profitable where it actually counts. This is where the negative epiphany turns into something useful. Not fear, not shame, clarity. Here's what I want you to do. Sit down this weekend when you're not exhausted. Calculate your real hourly wage honestly. Include everything. Write that number down and keep it close. Because the next time you're about to buy something you don't need, you should ask one question. Am I willing to trade this many hours of my life for this? Time is the real currency now. The wealthy buy it. Everyone else sells it, often at a discount. Don't sell yours cheaply. Audit your life. Cut the costs that drain you. Build margin. That margin is where freedom lives.